Hey guys, today I want to talk a little bit about the journey that was getting to Wormwood and why it didn't work out there. And for those of you not aware, Wormwood is a company out in Massachusetts on the eastern side in a place called Taunton, which is not super far from Boston. And they make like woodworked Dungeons and Dragons accessories. So think like dice trays, vaults, and they also carry like some like gemstone dice and other like peripheral kind of products. Okay, so how did I end up at Wormwood? I'm in Syracuse, running a video game store. And then I started doing Viridian, which was at first a 3D printing operation, and then and now has transitioned into dice. Well, before that transition into dice, we were making the condition rings, and we had that really cool ad up with our rings. So we did that one where we're sitting at the table, and I can't remember the conditions, and my whole party is like, if you can't play the world's greatest Dungeon and Dragons game, or if you can't play the world's greatest RPG,
the world's greatest fantasy role-playing game is too much for you to handle, then maybe you should just pick up your toys and go home before it's too late.
Then get the hell out of here. And it's a big joke. And then we transition it into like a Viagra commercial.
Guys,
1 out of every 5 dungeon masters can't keep track of
like an ad, like, are you down? Do you need help? So that ad, we have that ad. And if you haven't seen that, it's on my channel. It's pretty popular. Check that out. Also check out the Voltage ads. They're great.
hi, I'm Mike Saltzman. Welcome to Voltage Video Games.
Those are all produced content that I did with my buddy Mario. He really he is the real genius behind those commercials, if you've seen them. Bobby over at Wormwood saw that ad. How did he see that ad? Well, I watched their YouTube channel called Worm Life, and it's like a behind the scenes reality kind of show of what goes on at Wormwood. And I love it. I think it's great. I think he makes great content. Now he has other people helping him do it. And it's just a great show. And while watching it, they said like, hey, if you have a product that like in this industry and you want to like get it out there and have us review it, send it in and we'll talk about it or whatever.
Yeah, we're having fun with these, right? We like these.
Yeah.
Couple things. If you send it, we can't be held responsible.
Send in things that you are prepared to part with.
And so I message him and I say like, hey, because it was mostly like woodwork products. People were sending in like their woodworked products and they were like critiquing them.
Very, very well done.
Yeah,
like for dovetails.
And the inlay is actually pretty well done.
You're like, I love the design. This is just our design.
Yeah.
And I said like, well, I make this 3D printed product. Like, here's an ad for it. And, do you think it could go on there? Well, I'll send it out to you. And he says, no, there's really nothing I can do with this product, Mike. But your ad is great. Can I talk to you? I was like, sure. He's like, hey, this is really interesting. What you're doing out there. Tell me a little bit about your business. I tell him a little bit about the business. We chat. And at some point he says like, are you interested in working with us at all? And he says like, yeah, put together a proposal and send it to me. And I'll put it in front of our CEO, Doug Costello. I said like, yeah, I know Doug. I've seen him on the show. Yeah, I'll do that. So I write up a proposal, and it ends up getting in front of Doug. It takes like a week or two, but he shoots me back an email. It's like, hey, I'm going to be in the area. By in the area, he meant Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania and Central New York are not super close. Okay, so they come out. They check out my operation. They're like, you're a madman. This is insane. The fact that you would like set this up at that time in my house with like a ton of printers. We also think you got like quite an interesting personality. You'd be great on our show. We wish we had brought cameras, but hey, whatever. Why don't you come out? Like, the next step is, if we want to do some kind of deal, come out to see us in Massachusetts, and let's see if you like what we like what you have going on. Come see if you like what we have going on. I said, all right, I'll do that. It's like a 6-hour drive. So fast forward, 6-hour drive. I hate driving. I hate driving even more if it's alone. So that was not fun, but I did it. 6-hour drive. Check out their facilities. It's really cool. They have a big workshop. It looks exactly like on the show. And they act exactly like they do on the show. Now, the show like cuts the bits that are like the most interesting. But ultimately, like, it's still them. It's very similar to the show. They are goofy personalities. I liked what they had going on. It was really cool. I drove back. I drove out there again. talked more, planned more. Because we're like, they were thinking like, well, what are we doing? Are we buying 3D printed rings? Are we buying you to do a 3D printed ring operation? Are we buying your company? Are we hiring you? Like, there was like, ultimately the way we decided to do it was that they said they were hiring me to do a new operation. And the nice thing about that is my existing operations can continue, doing business, making money. So I don't have to give that up. I just have to stop being the direct manager of those operations. I have to hire people to oversee those, which I did. And I'm going to oversee something at Wormwood, like the same kind of thing, but attached to them, so it has greater potential. I think that was the overall idea. And what we ended up going with was, hey, I'm going to start a dice business within Wormwood, because they don't have like the retail logistics expertise. And since 3D printed rings are on the decline, but dice are on the upswing, like, just come do that at Wormwood. So when I got there, I had two main objectives. One was to work on the logistics and fulfillment side of their business, and the other was to build up the new business, the dice company. My role kind of grew and grew and grew, and I actually accumulated more responsibility. At one point, Doug said, like, hey, you're really rising through the ranks quickly here. Well, that was because I kept getting people kept feeding me new projects and stuff. And it actually became kind of overwhelming to an extent. People said like, oh, wow, Mike has all these skills.
Oh, like nunchuck skills.
In like technology and logistics and
computer hacking skills.
And reselling and
bow hunting skills.
Things like that. And we don't really have anyone else that has those skills. So, hey.
Girls only want boyfriends who have great skills.
Continuity error. We're having trouble with the internet. Mike's going to work on it. Hey, we're having trouble with the supplier. Well, Mike will negotiate with them. And I just started getting a lot of jobs that was outside my original kind of mission plan. And even my original mission plan with the two jobs was already a lot. I mean, starting a business is already a lot, and then fixing a logistics system that's kind of almost broken is also a lot. I got in there and I found a system that, like, well, this guy was in charge for a month and didn't necessarily know how to do it. So then they replaced him with someone else who didn't really care and also had other things to do. So it eventually just kind of got to this person, and there was a few weeks in there that nobody was in charge of it. And it just had accumulated a lot of problems that never got solved. I came in and I said, like, well, wait, why are you doing like these steps? And they're like, well, this guy who was in charge for a couple weeks said that we should do it. And then like before him, like someone else like didn't know how to do. So it was kind of a nightmare. I remember we had one set of, oh shoot, I'm wearing glasses now, and I wasn't before. Continuity error. Yeah, I'm recording this part after the other part. Sorry. So in any event, we'll get back to past Mike in a second. Don't worry. And the other thing I realized while working on that side of the business is, as things were coming in, I was identifying that some suppliers were doing a really, really poor job. And I can't go into specifics on like what companies and what was happening exactly, because it's not my place to do so. But they did highlight me at one point on a Worm Life episode saying, like, we are getting, like, taken advantage of. Like, Doug, like, ah. I'm in that whole meeting. Is that not this?
Oh, that is this. I actually don't think.
Oh.
You'll be in the next segment.
No.
Can I tell you actually something? And actually, I'd like you to include this if you could. This is gonna be a little bit of a pushback on the Wormlings. Saltzman's been doing a fucking phenomenal job. He's got like some fucking teeth.
He's got an edge.
He's got an edge, and that's what we fucking need down there. And he's like, you know, fuck these suppliers. Like, he's like, he's going.
Oh, I know. I know. There's some footage we could cut to.
They are full of it.
I don't know how
It's
much
insane. You're not clever. We are being defrauded. This is fucking stupid. We bought their lies, but it's lies.
Jesus fucking Christ. All right, so this is a meeting to go over some more Halloween Kickstarter details.
Because I realized, like, hey, we have a supplier who's twice the price of other suppliers and is doing a really lousy job with their quality on top of that being double the price. It's crazy. Like, we're being taken advantage of. So, and I remember at one point Doug was like, you know, Mike, this morning I walked in and I saw a pallet of boxes, and the boxes on top were like crushed and like to the side and falling off. Like, it didn't look great. And that's the supplier that you're talking about. So you don't really need to convince me. It doesn't take a genius to go like, well, that like crushed pallet that's not a shipment that seems like it was shipped with a lot of care and a lot of like, a lot of care and a lot of The Wormwood situation was meshed together with a lot of other things at the same time. So one, I had to move. So I moved out to Massachusetts. So like, by friends, by people I know, by businesses, like I'm 6 hours away. 6 hours? 5 hours? Something like that. 5 to 6 hours away. So that's like one huge stressor. Also, like, there's like smaller ones. Like, hey, the traffic in the Boston area is really ridiculous. The roads are really tough. I got into an accident. I had a family health situation going on. Someone in my family got pretty sick and ill. It was also like, I'm building a new business, which is already kind of stressful. And now I'm not doing it the way I normally do it. I'm doing it with like a lot of other people giving me input. So I'm like getting stressed about that too, because like every decision suddenly becomes this, like even just the name, like we came up with LootGoose, and that was like an ordeal to come up with that. It was an ordeal. Like, we're running different names we're checking URLs, Bobby leaks the name, and the URL gets taken, so we go, okay, we gotta come up with another name. In retrospect, that, like, I should have just done what I normally do. Like for Viridian, what did I do to come up with that name? I was just like, I like the name Viridian, I've used it before, sure, that'll be the name. I could have probably just done the business the way I normally done it and told people like, hey, you guys hired me for my expertise. Let me do stuff. And just like done it my normal way. And it probably would have been more successful. I should have done that. In retrospect, that was a mistake on my part to treat it differently than I had done before. And then we'll figure out the nitty gritty and if there's problems later. And the biggest one was, I am allergic to the dust in their workshop. It took me a bit to realize that was happening, but I was just miserable. And I'm sure that made everything else worse. So at first I just thought like, I just have allergies. I'm like getting some like throat stuff and I'm feeling congested. And at some point, like 2 weeks in, I start to go, I actually think I have a real 3 weeks in, a real dust problem with the workshop. So I start talking to Ian, who is like the production. He's like the floor manager of the Massachusetts facility for Wormwood. And I say like, hey, can we do something about the dust? Can we like get like, and they're like, oh, we just bought like a dust Zamboni. That'll help. And I'm like, all right, yeah, okay. And I kept like asking him each day, like, hey, is that Zamboni working yet?
Please, sir. I want some more.
Dust Zamboni.
What? What?
And eventually they got it working, and it just like wasn't enough. There was just too much dust. And I talked to Doug about it, and he's like, yeah, we agree. We're very anti-dust. Like, we want to get the dust down. I'm like, all right. So they're doing more stuff. We're talking about putting up like a plastic thing for the door. And it's just getting worse. Like each day, like so I'm wearing a mask now. I'm taking allergy pills. It was just really bad. And I think it was making me irritable and making me frustrated. And so then when I had a little blow up with Doug, amidst all these other issues, it just like broke me. And I was like, I gotta go. This is not working out. This is not working out. Which is unfortunate because like I had just bought like thousands of dollars worth of dice. So they had just mountain of dice. And I felt a little bit like this is terrible. Like I'm leaving them, you know, with all this stuff and like a half designed company, and yeah, I just couldn't do it. And so I drove back to Syracuse, and you know, the day I like basically didn't show up for work after that blow up, I think they were all like, oh no, did we lose Mike? Because like at that point I was really starting to get integrated into the team, despite like, so they put some stuff out for Worm Life that maybe showed me as being very in conflict with maybe the audience, maybe the Worm Life audience, very, very in conflict with other people on the team.
Stand this. They're so confused, and it's brilliant.
They're wrong though.
It's
That's
marketing.
they're wrong.
They're right.
Here's why they're wrong.
Tell us.
They're effing wrong.
But the truth was, like, we were working really well together. So I think when I didn't show up and people thought like Mike's may have quit, I think they were really upset. It hit hard. It hit hard for, I think, Doug. I think it hit hard for Bobby. It hit hard for a lot of people. I got that across the board. Like everyone was just wondering like, hey, are you okay? Oh no, we don't want to lose you. And to this day, like I miss a lot of those people, and I regret that I'm not at the company anymore. But yeah, I just don't know how to, I didn't know how to deal with that variety of stress at the time. But looking back, yeah, I can deal with like the stressors with Doug and the car stuff and the family stuff. Like all that can be kind of like, I think I could have gotten past all that. But the air thing, the dust, I don't know what I can do about that. Short of putting myself in an office over there that's segmented from the rest of the workshop. But if that's the case, then like that's no fun. Not that like work is supposed to be fun, but like I don't know. Part of the reason I'm doing all that is because like it's fun. Their executive team drove out to Syracuse to try to talk me into coming back. And I explained to them what I just explained to you guys, like all the issues I was having. And we went into, you know, the personal stuff a little bit more. But I did say even then, like it was only a week out, but my lungs were starting to feel a little better from having not been breathing in like this dusty air. And I said, like, guys, I already feel a lot better not being in the workshop for a few days. You know, they accepted that, like, they didn't do everything right. I didn't do everything right. And that there were some X factors that, like, nobody really had control of. So they did their best to make it right, which was really nice. They took my input on maybe what they do with the dice. They ended up doing a big promotion in the Christmas time. The last part of it is, like, so when I got back, I talked to the general manager I put in charge of Viridian, and I said, like, hey, I've been planning out this operation with LootGoose. Like, let's just do that here in Viridian. We're gonna get it's like I was saying at the beginning, we're starting kind of closer to the bottom. But if the business plan is sound, we will, we'll make it something bigger. The business strategy I'm talking about is this idea that, like, you just have the lowest prices you can have, the best selection you can have, and then, like, the best customer service you can do. That's what I did at Voltage. We came in, and when other people were selling Donkey Kong Country for $50, we looked online, said, like, well, it's going for, $20 to $30. So let's sell it for somewhere in there. And then someone will come and say, oh, it's the same price as it is online, and I can get it right now, and have customer service, and have a return policy, and like, you guys clean them up and stuff. That's great. So that's what I wanted to do with Viridian 2. I saw, like, people selling dice for, and that's what I wanted to do at LootGoose. That's what I said. That was my pitch to the guys at Wormwood. You can buy, say, this set of dice for $1.50, and look around online. A lot of people are selling it for $15, sometimes $20, sometimes more. This thing that they're buying for $1.50, they're selling for more than $20 in some cases. It's madness. Can't you sell it for $5, $6? You do not need 900%.
Sure.
This is Mike Saltzman.
Michael Saltzman, the name right there. That's where the name is.
I'll handle it.
Saltzman has a, how should I put it? Should I say passion or boner?
He's got a passionate boner.
He has a passion, boner, for value.